A song about oral sex that barely cracked the top 50 became Biggie's greatest anthem. An album that peaked at number 116 gave LL Cool J his smoothest hit. These are the R&B records nobody bought in the 80s, but every producer from Dre to Diddy kept hidden in their crates. Welcome to R&B Pulse Track, where we uncover the albums that flopped on the charts but became the foundation of hip-hop's golden age. Today, we're counting down 12 albums that commercial radio ignored. Hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss these untold stories of the records that failed but won. Let's dig in the crates. Number 12, M-Tomb, Juicy Fruit, 1983. Song, Juicy Fruit. James Montoom recorded Juicy Fruit in one night. Singer Tawatha Aji wasn't happy with her vocals, calling them dry. The song peaked at number 45 pop, but hit number 1 R&B for 8 weeks. The album? It didn't even crack the Billboard 200 Top 50. Here's the kicker. The song was about oral sex. You Can Lick Me Everywhere. Wrigley's Gum heard the title and almost sued. Then Montoom told them in a deposition what the song was really about. They dropped the lawsuit immediately. In 1994, Puff Daddy pulled out a crumpled copy of the album in the studio and played it for Biggie.
It's all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine.
Biggie wasn't impressed. Puff convinced him. They sat down, worked out a 1.5-page deal. You get $1, I get 50 cents.
You never thought that hip hop would take it this far.
Juicy became Biggie's signature song. The album that barely sold became one of the most sampled records in hip-hop history. Over 70 samples. Montoom made more money from samples than he ever made from the original. Sometimes flopping is the best thing that can happen. Number 11. Bernard Wright, Mr. Right, 1985. Song, Who Do You Love? Bernard Wright was Roberta Flack's godson. At 18, he released his first album. By 1985 and his third LP, Mr. Right, he'd barely made a dent. The album peaked at number 25 R&B, number 116 overall.
But since you came in my direction,
Who Do You Love hit number 6 R&B. Co-written with jazz legend Lenny White and produced with Marcus Miller, it had that smooth 80s sound, but it didn't cross over. Pop radio ignored it. MTV wouldn't touch it. The album disappeared.
but I never knew what true love was indeed.
10 years later, LL Cool J was working on his album Mr. Smith. Producer Rashad Smith flipped Who Do You Love for the remix of Loungin'. The sample became the centerpiece. LL's smooth flow over Bernard's jazzy groove. Platinum single, number 3 pop.
Got Chanel on your feet. Hot sex on a platter makes the mission complete.
Bernard Wright died in 2021 at 58. He'd watched Who Do You Love get sampled over 20 times. Big Pun, Lunas, Shinehead, all dug into that record. An album nobody bought became a producer's treasure chest. Number 10, Patrice Rushen, Straight from the Heart, 1982. Song, Forget Me Nots. Elektra Records executives heard the album and told Patrice Rushen, "We don't get it. We don't hear any hits. Nothing." The label declared Forget Me Nots a flop. It took 3 weeks of independent promotion just to get it in front of radio programmers. The song peaked at number 23 pop, number 8 UK. The album barely cracked the top 100, but that propulsive dance-funk groove, Gerald Albright's sax solo, and Freddie Washington's explosive bass became legendary, sampled over 70 times. In 1997, Will Smith flipped it for Men in Black. Polk and Tone replayed the entire instrumental. George Michael interpolated it for Fast Love in '96. Mace used it for Feel So Good. The list goes on and on. Patrice earned her first Grammy nomination from a song her label called A Failure. She's now been sampled more than any other female R&B artist from the 80s. The label executives were dead wrong. Number 9, Zapp. Zapp, 1980. Song, More Bounce to the Ounce. Roger Troutman and his brothers from Dayton, Ohio, recorded their debut album on a shoestring budget in 1980. More Bounce to the Ounce became their signature, with Roger's talkbox creating that robotic funk sound nobody had heard before. The song hit number 2 R&B, but only number 86 pop. The album peaked at number 19 R&B, number 61 overall. Not massive numbers, but West Coast rappers couldn't stop digging into that groove. Dr. Dre, Snoop, Ice Cube all went to the Zapp well. EPMD sampled it in '88 for You Gots to Chill. Tupac used it multiple times. Eazy-E built Boys in the Hood around it. By 2000, Zapp had been sampled over 150 times, more than almost any funk band from the 80s. Roger Troutman died in 1999, shot by his brother Larry in a murder-suicide. He was 47. But that talkbox sound and funky bounce became the DNA of G-Funk and West Coast hip-hop. An album that barely went gold became priceless. Number 8, Tom Browne, Love Approach, 1980. Song, Funkin' for Jamaica, New York. Tom Browne was a 23-year-old trumpet player from Queens when he recorded Funkin' for Jamaica. Released summer 1980, it hit number 9 on the Hot 100, his biggest hit ever. The album peaked at number 47. But pop success didn't last. Follow-up singles flopped. The album didn't go platinum. Tom Browne faded from mainstream radar. Then hip-hop discovered that trumpet riff, that infectious, bouncing groove that epitomized early 80s New York funk. Brand Nubian sampled it for Slow Down in '90. Main Source used it for Just Hangin' Out in '91. De La Soul, Gang Starr, Lord Finesse all dug into that record. Over 60 samples total. Tom Browne died in July 2024 at 73 from complications of diabetes. He watched Funkin' for Jamaica become a hip-hop staple. An album nobody bought became a producer's treasure. Number 7, The Whispers, And the Beat Goes On, 1980. Song, And the Beat Goes On. The Whispers had been around since 1964, 16 years without a major crossover hit. In 1980, they released And the Beat Goes On. It hit number 19 pop, number 2 R&B, their biggest pop hit ever. But it didn't make them superstars. The Whispers went right back to being an R&B act. The album peaked at number 37. Then Will Smith came calling in '98. He wanted to flip it for Miami from his Big Willie style album. Smith's version hit number 17 pop, introduced a whole new generation to that groove. Since then, And the Beat Goes On has been sampled over 40 times. Usher, Kalis, countless others.
Got to win, somebody's got to lose.
The Whispers are still performing today, 50-plus years after forming. That one song they thought would break them wide open instead became an eternal sample source. Sometimes longevity beats stardom. Number 6. Cameo, Word Up, 1986. Song, Candy. Larry Blackmon and his 13-member funk collective Cameo had been around since the 70s. By 86, they'd streamlined to a 5-piece. Candy from the Word Up album peaked at number 21 pop. The album did better, hitting number 8, but wasn't considered a monster commercial success at the time. Then Mariah Carey heard it in 2001. She wanted to sample it for Loverboy. Original plans fell through. Tommy Mottola, her ex-husband, leaked the song early to spite her, so Mariah rushed out her version with a full interpolation instead. Loverboy hit number 2 pop, introduced Cameo to a whole new generation who'd never heard the original. Since then, Candy has been sampled and interpolated over 30 times. Usher, Tweet, countless others. An album that peaked at number 8 became a sample goldmine. Larry Blackmon's signature vocal style and that synth-funk groove became the sound every producer wanted. Sometimes being sampled makes you more legendary than being a superstar ever did. Number 5. The Isley Brothers, Between the Sheets, 1983. Song, Between the Sheets.
Hey girl, ain't no mystery.
The Isley Brothers had been recording since the 50s. By 1983, they were veterans. Between the Sheets peaked at number 3 R&B, number 52 pop. The album hit number 19. Solid numbers, but not career-defining. Then, the notorious B.I.G. sampled it for Big Papa in '94. That smooth, seductive groove became Biggie's most radio-friendly hit. Whitney Houston flipped it for My Love Is Your Love in '99. Number 4, pop, multi-platinum single.
Rock grooves and make moves with all the mommies. The back of the club sipping mo.
Since then, over 100 artists have sampled Between the Sheets. Dabrat, Aaliyah, countless others. The Isleys became one of the most sampled groups in music history. Their 80s output alone spawned hundreds of hip-hop beats. The brothers watched their catalog become the foundation of 90s R&B and hip-hop. An album that peaked at number 19 became worth more in samples than it ever made in original sales. Number 4. SOS Band, Just Be Good to Me, 1983. Song, Just Be Good to Me. The SOS Band from Atlanta released Just Be Good to Me in summer '83. Produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis before they became legends with Janet Jackson. The song hit number 2 R&B, number 55 pop. The album On the Rise peaked at number 7 R&B, modest success. Then Beats International sampled it for Dub Be Good to Me in '90, number 1 UK for 4 weeks. Norman Cook, later known as Fatboy Slim, built his entire career on that sample. The Isleys sued and won co-writing credits. Since then, Just Be Good to Me has been sampled over 50 times. Professor Griff, Nas, countless others. Jam and Lewis's pre-Janet work became a sample library for every hip-hop producer in the 90s. The SOS Band never got massive mainstream success, but their catalog became essential crate-digging material. Sometimes the albums that don't cross over end up influencing everything that comes after. Number 3, Shalamar, The Look, 1983. Song, Dead Giveaway. Shalamar's 1983 Dead Giveaway was produced by Leon Silvers III. It hit number 10 R&B, number 73 pop. The album The Look peaked at number 13 R&B. Howard Hewitt's vocals and that synth-heavy production defined early 80s soul funk. Curtis Mayfield even praised it, calling it innovative. But commercial radio didn't fully embrace it. Then hip-hop discovered it. That bass line, those synths, became the blueprint for G-Funk producers. Dead Giveaway has been sampled over 40 times. Mac Dre, Mobb Deep, E40, all West Coast legends dug into it. The album that peaked at number 13 became a West Coast hip-hop essential. Shalamar disbanded in '87, but their sound lived on through every sample, every flip, every producer who recognized genius. Sometimes the most influential albums are the ones that didn't dominate radio. Number 2, Slave, Just a Touch of Love, 1980. Song, Just a Touch of Love. Ohio funk band. Slave released Just a Touch of Love in 1980. It peaked at number 13 R&B, number 79 pop. The album barely cracked the top 100. But that funky bass line and Steve Arrington's vocals were unforgettable. Make me shine just a little bit. De La Soul sampled it for a roller skating jam named Saturdays in '91. Instant classic. Since then, over 60 artists have flipped Just a Touch of Love, from Snoop Dogg to Nas to underground producers nobody's heard of. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Steve Arrington went solo in '82 and had moderate success, but Slave's catalog became the real treasure. Producers knew what radio didn't. These grooves were timeless. The band that couldn't crack the top 50 became one of the most sampled funk acts of the '80s. An album nobody bought became every producer's secret weapon. Number 1, Roy Ayers, Love Fantasy, 1980. Song, Love Fantasy.
Love is a fantasy.
Roy Ayers was a jazz-funk vibraphone player who'd been recording since the 60s. By 1980, he was a cult figure, not a superstar. Love Fantasy peaked at number 17, R&B. The album barely registered. But that vibraphone groove, those chords, became legendary.
Strikes my heart so tenderly.
Mary J. Blige built her entire debut album around Roy Ayers' samples. Real Love? That's Roy. A Tribe Called Quest, The Roots, Erykah Badu, all went to the Roy Ayers well again and again.
Give me your love, give me your love.
By the 90s, Roy Ayers was the most sampled artist in hip-hop. Over 300 samples across his catalog. Love Fantasy alone has been flipped 50-plus times, from underground beats to platinum singles.
Each romance has a lot in me.
Roy Ayers never had a number 1 hit, never sold millions of albums, but he influenced everyone who came after. The album that barely charted became the foundation of neo-soul, jazz rap, and everything in between. That's legacy.